Okay, when I first started making pizza years ago, I read that you want to use a bread flour instead of an all-purpose flour or a pastry flour. The reason is bread flour has the highest protein content, which means it has the most gluten, which means that the dough is going to be the strongest. The more gluten, the stronger the cell structure is going to be. Therefore, you can have pizza crust that is thin and it'll retain its strength and also create that chewiness. The lower the protein content you have in flour, the dough or the end product is going to be more flaky and less chewy. So for pizza crust, you want high protein content. I've always made pizza crust out of bread flour. I've never actually compared a side-by-side comparison with any other flour, so that's what I'm going to do today. So today I'm going to do a comparison here with King Arthur bread flour, which is 12.7% protein, and then Trader Joe's all-purpose flour, which is 10% protein content. Okay, we're going to start off with the King Arthur bread flour first. I got all of my ingredients pre-measured. I'll put the recipe in the description if you'd like to check it out. When I'm doing this, I don't care what order I put stuff in. Olive oil, it really doesn't seem to make a difference to me. Sugar, salt, yeast. I just put all the ingredients in at once, fire up the KitchenAid. Okay, so normally I start off, when I have a larger batch, I'll just start off making the dough on low speed. The idea is you want to replicate the old Italians that would mix the dough by hand. And that's a slower process, therefore they're working in a lot of oxygen. So for larger batches, I'll start off with low. Right now I just did high for a second because the batch is so small, the dough is barely touching anything in there. I just wanted to speed that up a tiny bit. I'm gonna let this mix for a couple minutes till, I'm gonna put on medium just so it gets to that dough a little bit easier. I'm gonna let it mix for probably 2 to 3 minutes until we have a nice looking cohesive dough ball. Okay, it's been mixing for about 3 or 4 minutes and it's cohesive. It doesn't have to be smooth, as you can see, but this is what you're looking for. All I'm going to do is take it and put it into a lightly oiled bowl. Let it sit for 30 minutes. Let it rest for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to knead it just a bit and shape the ball. Now for the all-purpose flour. This is after about 3 to 4 minutes of mixing also. Oops. Yeesh. All right. Check back in 30 minutes. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes. Here is the one with the bread flour. Just going to lightly knead it. The dough is very soft at this point. Kind of knead it into a ball. That's it. Look how nice that looks. Smooth. Put it back in. Four. So I can tell right away that the dough ball made with the all-purpose flour is a little more sticky and soft. Okay, that's it. We're going to put these in the fridge overnight and we'll check back tomorrow. Here we go. These were in the fridge. I put these in the fridge right after shaping the balls, and they sat there for about 16 hours. I took them out, and they've been rising at room temperature for 3 hours. I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but this ball here, this dough ball that was made with the bread flour is a lot more robust and large than the one made with the all-purpose flour. It just has more shape, more figure. When I was shaping the dough balls yesterday, the dough with the all-purpose flour, it was stickier and softer. It didn't want to hold its shape as well as the one made with bread flour. Now, mind you, I used the exact same ingredients. I mean, the exact same measurements other than the flour type. I mean, I had exactly 100 milliliters of water in each one, exactly 153 grams of flour in each one. So right away, I'm seeing how the bread flour, it absorbs the water better, and it's simply more robust at this point. So let's make the pizzas and see what happens. Let's start off with the bread flour one, I guess. Okay, that's pretty soft. You can see there's some big air bubbles in the rim. This is going to be really good. The oven is all ready. I just checked it. It's 617 degrees as of a couple minutes ago. Let's double check this. Yep, 618 degrees. Okay, check back in about 3 minutes. There we go. Look at that. That is a good looking pie. Okay, while the oven is reheating back up, I'm going to shape the dough ball with, that was made with the all-purpose flour. Right away, it's still more sticky. It's sticking to the bowl a lot more. It's just like the bread flour absorbs the water a lot better. It's definitely softer. It's not as airy. I can already tell that the rim is not going to have as large of air bubbles as the one with the bread flour. Yeah, it's really soft. I'm afraid I'm going to tear it or something. Yeah. The oven is only at 572 right now. I gotta wait a few minutes. All right, the oven is heated back up. I just checked. Let's make this one now. All right. Time to take out the second one. Not a bad looking pie. Yeah, I'm gonna cut them up and see. So at first glance, you can see both have good air bubbles in the rim. The one with the bread flour is a little more astute, a little larger. Bottom, pretty similar. Give it a cut. All right, take a look. So I know you can't tell from video, but the one with the bread flour is lighter weight for sure. You can see the air bubbles in both the rim and the bottom are larger with the bread flour. The rim obviously has more air bubbles. Let's see how the taste compares. That's really good. It's definitely a chewy crust. Okay, both have really good flavor. Either one would work, I think, but the bread flour crust is definitely chewier. This is the all-purpose one is just a little more crumbly, a little more like bread. This is like a good chewy crust like you'd want. And so that's experiment, I guess. So that's what we learned. Okay, so in summary, what I learned was the dough made with the all-purpose flour was softer and more sticky. The dough ball made with the bread flour was more robust and just not as sticky. It seemed like the extra gluten just seemed to absorb the water better. Now, as I was shaping the dough balls, the dough ball made with the bread flour, you could tell it was stronger and stretchier than the one made with the all-purpose flour. After I baked them, the crust made with the bread flour had more air bubbles in the bottom of the crust, but also along the rim. The rim had great big air bubbles, whereas the rim with the all-purpose flour was just had that more bread-like consistency. And also, the pizza crust made with the bread flour was more chewy, which is what you'd expect from a New York pizza. Both had great flavor, but I have to say the bread flour did make a better pizza. It was definitely more authentic with that chewy, airy crust. Thanks for watching.